saying it's true? The women here are so passionate that they stab for love? Okay.
As most of you know, One Piece is very hit and miss. We have good, bad, good, bad, good, bad constantly. And as most of you know as well, Fishman Island was almost the last straw. It was the closest thing to sticking my dick in a blender that I have ever experienced.
More interesting.
Never before have I seen anything so good fumble such a plot line so badly. It was such an embarrassingly bad comeback arc. That's not the point. The point is that before that, my sights were set so ridiculously low. Let's go back a second. Going back a couple of arcs, past the one good arc in the last 100 episodes, going back past Fishman Island, if I can even bear that, going just after Marineford. Something really good that people had been hyping up for so long, and honestly, most of that was right. It wasn't perfect, but that's whatever. That's besides the point. Point is that after Luffy was recovering and having all these like weird flashbacks and stuff, we get his origin story. Something long overdue that we had gotten bits and pieces of through Garp and through Ace. I was excited to see it finally. But we got this instead. I'm not one to just insult anime's budgets because I get it. Money's tight and you gotta animate scenes like this sometimes. I get it. Not every arc and episode can be a masterpiece. But what the fuck is this? This looks like training for an intern was paid to do on his Chromebook at school, and that's all I'm gonna say about the animation. But it just looks physically ugly everywhere. There was no budget left. Besides that, we gotta break down the story just a little bit. I was excited because we were finally gonna get to see what made Luffy, why he was like the way he is. Psych! No, we're not! We're gonna see Ace as a child for 90% of the show, and his two dick brothers! Everybody in this arc is a dick. This fat lady's a dick. These rich people, dicks! The three are all dicks! Anyways, point is that the arc starts with Luffy getting dropped off by Garp. We know at this point that Ace was Blackbeard's son and that he was secretly living with these mountain bandits. This was actually kind of cool, but guess what? None of these characters are interesting and they never come back at all, so don't worry about it. Point is that there's this mean, ugly fat lady and she's like Luffy's kind of adopted stepmother aunt thing. It's weird. He and Ace don't get along at first, obviously. Ace is a dick, and Luffy, because he's a dick, follows this dick into the woods, and he meets a third dick. This dick is called Sabo, and together, by committing felonies and drinking alcohol underage, they become brothers and become inseparable. Here comes the best part of this arc. A twist, a shocking reveal. Sabo isn't actually an orphan, he's actually just a noble child, and he doesn't want to be a part of the noble life. He hates the noble people and the rich and all that, and that's actually really cool. But in typical One Piece fashion, instead of developing this, he just runs away. There's no character impact. And now I'm going to skip over a bunch of boring stuff involving a pirate with some Freddy Fazbear teeth and a bunch of other random stuff that just doesn't really matter. We get to the big, crazy twist. A celestial dragon is going to show up at this island called Grey Terminal, which is where they're at. Grey Terminal is divided into two parts. The noble city full of the rich people and this garbage dump where, well, garbage is dumped, and that's where all the poor and the robbers live. Which, for you, Outbreak, who haven't seen it, celestial dragon is the equivalent of a president or somebody really high in power. It doesn't really matter. Because he's coming, they don't want them to see this pile of garbage that is next to their island. So what do these rich people decide to do? Burn it. But you know what happens when you burn garbage? The garbage is still there! It's just burnt! The garbage doesn't go anywhere! So they plant these bombs and they get this pirate guy to recruit Luffy and stuff, even though they were enemies because there's something about Sabo getting kidnapped. Bunch of stuff that doesn't matter. They plant some bombs and they start a fire in Grey Terminal. Sabo shows up, saves a bunch of lives. This guy called Blue Jam dies, but again, he doesn't really matter. He was cliches upon cliches. He had nothing going for him besides his teeth. After this, everybody's okay, obviously, except for Luffy, who got like a scratch or whatever. And they're all together again, happy. They go to the shore to see the Celestial Dragon. And do you know what else they see besides the Celestial Dragon's boat? Sabo's boat. He's leaving to become a pirate. Big character moment. He's leaving his rich family behind in this world. He's going out to see the... Boom! He's gone!
Boss, you killed a child. Amazing. Mission complete.
This was supposedly Sabo's death. He sails next to the Celestial Dragon's ship and they shoot him, and his ship blows up. But this was such a bad fake out. Everybody knows, and I've said it 1,000 times, nobody dies in One Piece. And I didn't expect for a second for him to die. But they didn't even try. They just blew up his boat. I thought it was going to be clear and they were going to show him survive. But they cut to Luffy and Ace crying, and they were all upset that he died. And now obviously we know he comes back in Dressrosa and he's actually fine. But the fact that they were trying to pass this off as his actual fake out death, that he was supposed to die here and we were supposed to get emotional, is insulting. It's a spit in the face. It's disgusting how they actually believed that this was supposed to make us feel bad. This is about where the arc ends. They both agree to drink more alcohol as minors and both become pirates, and Ace leaves. That's about where this arc ends. Like I said before, it was no secret that Sabo was going to survive. I didn't have that spoiled for me, but it was abundantly clear. That being said, Sabo is so poorly written that the coolest part of his character barely shines. He's just a brat with a pipe. None of this noble or royalty stuff that could be such a cool perspective about how the rich hate the poor and that they're trying to hide them to make them look better. That's so cool. But the method they choose to get rid of them, burning a pile of garbage, is just dumb. Again, they're making good things bad. It's just insulting to us. By far, that this is one of the worst and longest backstories of any of the characters. They don't introduce Luffy well in his own backstory. Ace is a worse character than he already was. I still to this day can't fathom how people love Ace so much. I have never liked him when he was an adult, when he was Luffy's older brother, and now when he was a kid. In every stage of his life, he has just been a penis. And besides that, Luffy just became more whiny, and we never got to see this Luffy determination that we see when he's older. All we saw was him whining and complaining. And yeah, I apologize for the long waits. That's about it.
So I pulled over, you're going a little too fast on the left lane. Oh. What's the score?
The skeleton?
Yeah.
On